Okay, who in particular would you like to distribute your media and why?
I feel that Summit Entertainment would be a suitable distribution and production company due to its output of thriller films such as Memento and Insomnia.
Why these films in particular?
Both these films have a really dark and gritty nature to them, similar to our film, and Memento in particular represents the mysterious, dangerous, and surreal mood that we aim to portray in our thriller.
And who was the director for these films?
Their thriller Memento was directed by Christopher Nolan, who also directed the brilliant sequel to Batman Begins with his film The Dark Knight in 2008. As you can see if you watch this film, he went bigger and better than ever before, with a deeper, darker, brooding story with as much suspense and tension as possible. We feel that this represents some of the conventions we follow with our thriller's portrayal of the villain in creepy and mysterious ways.
What kind of budget did these films have and how is it similar to yours?
Memento had a relatively low budget for a Hollywood blockbuster at only $9 million, which we feel is all they really needed. If we were asked to have a budget, we would ask for something similar, as all we really need is the good actors, cameras, enough time, and a good setting. We would not need to use much money for special effects and other things.
What are the selling points of your thriller and how is this similar to Memento?
Memento has the capability to be sold through DVDs, cinema sales, online downloads, and television box office, which gives a lot of scope for modern media advertising such as billboards, television and magazine adverts. We feel this would be similar for our thriller.
Who would the audience be for your media products?
We feel that through our audience research survey and textual analysis tasks, our thriller Following would be mainly aimed at an age group of around 15 to 40, males or females, with a demographic that covers a more intellectually demanding background.
What is the reason for this?
The reason for this choice is that our thriller would be heavily based on a slowly thickening and ever more complicated plot that would require deep concentration and interest in both the social and psychological natures to our character.
How would you begin by releasing your thriller?
Fitting in with our age range, we would release it first in cinemas, as they would be, in the most part, be able to access one, as our thriller would be better being experienced on a large screen in a tense atmosphere.
And how would you follow this up?
It would then also be made for release on DVD, as we aim to make it a film which people may want to watch more than once to capture the ideas in full and gain a high level of understanding of the characters and the plot generally. How does the name of your thriller address your audience?
The name Following, which we use for our thriller, entices our audience, as it does not give much away of the story, and we aim to make it them want to follow up further. We feel that it gives enough of the story to connote fear and an uncomfortable claustrophobic feeling that could attract most audiences if they seek a deep, thrilling experience.
How did your setting attract or address your audience?
The beach and castle had a highly isolated nature and fits in with what our audience would expect of her position. It shows them that she is alone, vulnerable, and makes her seem so small and powerless in contrast. When she reaches the hotel, it appears as a safe haven to her that meets the audience's expectations of an inside, warm, almost cosy location that makes the audience feel her safety, at which point the villain captures her, typically contrasting with her own feeling of security.
How did you use costume and props to attract/address your audience?
We dressed our victim as a typical teenager, which allows the audience to relate more directly than if she were an unusual character. This normal nature of our character helps to build the fear and mystery of the audience as to why she is in her position, as well as them making them feel as if this could happen to anyone, even them. People expect to be frightened at a thriller film, so the more we can do this, the better. Our villain is typically dressed in all black and doesn't reveal his face, which meets the audience's need for a fear of the unknown and a plot to thicken as they begin to generate interest in who this character could be.
How did you use camera work to attract or address your audience?
The series of handheld shots we use to help to build realism and make the audience feel involved with the victim and what's going on in the thriller. The canted angles in particular create a sense of surrealism, building up the uncomfortable and not right feeling the audience wanted to feel when watching a thriller. The focus pulls we perform during some shots create interest in the images to engage the viewer, and it also helps us to reveal things to the audience and keep an ongoing feeling of keeping the audience in the dark.
Did you use any effects, filters or colour correction to attract or address your audience?
In Following, we made the castle in our thriller darker with a higher level of contrast to give it a more vivid and haunting atmosphere which meets the audience expectation for an appropriate, isolated and chilling setting.
How about the typeface of titles?
The first title we used for a seaside production begins as a jumble of warped and messed up letters, which fits in with the unusual nature of events in our thriller, which is what the audience would expect to see as it slowly forms the words a seaside production. The main title for our thriller, Following, begins as a stretched out word, which then the letters slowly come closer and then eventually fade to red to give a chilling yet subtle atmosphere as we begin to portray this mood to the audience.